Linda stood at the bakery counter, wiping down the display case just like she had for the past 32 years. The smell of warm cinnamon rolls filled the shop, blending with the faint scent of coffee beans from the machine humming in the corner. Every detail of the place, the soft jazz playing on the speaker, the handwritten chalk menu, the scratch on the front door, was a piece of her life. She built this place from the ground up. When her husband left her with 2 toddlers and 0 savings, the bakery was nothing but a dream. She started by baking from home and delivering pies door to door in her old rusted Corolla. It wasn't glamorous. It was hard, but she made it work. Over time, her small kitchen turned into a commercial one, and her loyal neighborhood customers became a town-wide following. By the time she was in her 60s, Linda's loaves had become a staple of the community. People came from other cities just to buy her famous almond croissants. The local food blog even did a feature on her, the bakery that raised a town. But time had caught up. Linda's hands ached. Her back didn't bend the way it used to. Her energy wasn't the same, though her heart still lived in every loaf. She knew it was time to pass the torch, but not to just anyone. Her daughter, Melissa, had always shown interest in the bakery growing up. She helped on weekends as a teen, and after getting a business degree, she often said, "One day, I'll run this place, Mom." So when Linda decided to retire, she didn't hesitate. She called Melissa over one warm Sunday afternoon, made her favorite lemon tarts, and sat her down. "I want you to take over the bakery," Linda said gently, handing her the keys and a small box of papers. Melissa stared, blinking. "You're serious? I've built this for you and your brother, but he's got his own job in another state. You're here, and I know you'll take care of it." Melissa stood up and hugged her tight. "I won't let you down, Mom." Linda smiled. It was the first time in years she'd felt like she could finally rest. For the first few weeks, everything went smoothly. Melissa brought in new ideas, social media ads, an updated logo, a fancier coffee machine. Linda watched proudly. She wasn't just passing down a building, she was passing down a legacy. A lifetime of love and work, placed carefully into her daughter's hands. Still, Linda didn't disappear. She couldn't. She came in every morning at 6 a.m., just like she always had. She didn't run things anymore. She knew when to step back. But she cleaned the counters, greeted old customers, helped the junior bakers with technique. She didn't get paid. She didn't ask for anything. She was just there, because she loved the place. It wasn't about control. It was about connection. But then little things started to shift. Melissa began changing recipes, without asking. "I tweaked the cinnamon roll," she said once. "The old recipe has too much butter. It's not healthy. But that's what people love about it," Linda replied gently. "It's not supposed to be health food. It's comfort." Melissa rolled her eyes. "Mom, we're in a different time now. People care about calories." Linda bit her tongue. A week later, she noticed the music had changed to upbeat pop. The chalkboard menu was gone, replaced by a digital screen. Her old handwritten signs, with little flower smudges and doodles, were thrown in a box in the back. No one said anything directly, but she felt it. The staff began addressing her with polite distance. The new hires, most of them in their 20s, didn't know her story, didn't know how this place came to be. To them, she was just Melissa's mom, an old lady who hung around too much. Still, Linda stayed quiet. Maybe she was just being sensitive. Until the meeting. Melissa had called a team meeting one Friday evening. Linda stayed back, cleaning near the kitchen. But she could hear everything. "I want us to start taking the brand seriously," Melissa said. "We need a cleaner image, more structure, fewer random changes in the kitchen. Oh, and moving forward, let's keep personal family matters out of operations. My mom's just helping out casually, but she's not part of the team." Linda froze. Her heart sank. Not part of the team? She wasn't sure what stung more, the words themselves or how easily Melissa had said them, like swatting a fly. There was no warmth. No acknowledgement of the years Linda had spent sacrificing sleep, money, and her health to make this place what it was. That night, Linda stayed in the bakery long after everyone left. She sat alone at one of the corner tables, looking around at what the place had become. It was cleaner, yes. More modern. But it felt empty. Cold. Was this really the same shop where she used to hand out free cookies to kids who got good grades? Still, she didn't say anything. Not yet. But deep down, something had shifted. A quiet line had been crossed. Melissa had started seeing the bakery as her own personal project. Not a legacy. Not a family effort. just a platform to showcase her style. And Linda? She had become invisible in the very walls she once painted with her own two hands. Then came the final blow. One Monday morning, Linda came in early, as usual, to restock the flower bins. When Melissa walked in and saw her, she sighed. "Mom, I thought we talked about this." Linda looked up, confused. "Talked about what? You coming in every day. You're always here, and it's honestly making it hard for the staff to adjust. You don't let me lead. I feel like you're hovering." "I don't say anything," Linda replied, surprised. "I just help clean and—" "It's the energy," Melissa interrupted. "You're always watching. Honestly, it feels like you don't trust me." Linda stood still. Melissa took a breath. Then she said it. "You gave me the business, right? So let me run it. And maybe take a step back. For real this time." That sentence hit Linda like a slap. "No thank you. No appreciation. Just step aside. Move on." She nodded slowly, holding back tears. "All right, if that's what you want." And she walked out of the bakery that day, quietly, without drama. But inside her, something had cracked wide open. Because what Melissa didn't know was that Linda hadn't fully given the business away. The keys might have changed hands, but the paperwork, the ownership rights, the name on the license, those still belonged to Linda. And suddenly, for the first time in a long time, she realized she still had the power to choose what happened next. The following days felt like silence after a storm. Linda didn't go to the bakery. Not even once. For the first time in decades, she woke up without an alarm, made her coffee slowly, and stared out the window instead of rushing into her routine. But the silence wasn't peaceful. It was piercing. It rang in her ears. The emptiness of not being needed was far louder than the bakery's early morning chatter ever was. Every part of her missed it. The clink of measuring spoons, the sound of the bell above the entrance, even the squeaky back fridge door she never got around to fixing. But she didn't go back. She couldn't. Not after what Melissa said. Linda hadn't even told her closest friend, Marlene, about the conversation yet. She didn't want to say it out loud. It made it too real. But it was real. Her daughter had basically told her, "You're in the way." Still, Linda didn't act out. She didn't shout or argue. She respected boundaries, even when they stung. Until one afternoon, a message changed everything. It was a Wednesday. Linda was doing her grocery shopping, minding her own business in the produce aisle, when her phone pinged. It was a message from Brenda, one of the longtime bakery employees who had worked with her for over a decade. "Hey Linda, I hope you're okay. Just wanted you to know Melissa had a team meeting today. She told us you're officially no longer part of the business. Said any decisions we make should go through her only. Also, she said to stop calling it your bakery when talking to customers. Thought you should know." Linda just stood there, phone in hand, frozen. She didn't even notice the cart blocking someone else until they bumped into it. "Excuse me," someone muttered, annoyed. Linda mumbled an apology and moved the cart, but she wasn't fully present. The words repeated in her head. No longer part of the business. Stop calling it your bakery. The sheer cruelty of it knocked the breath out of her. She wasn't even given a phone call. No conversation. No appreciation. Just erased. Like she never existed in the very walls she built with her own hands. That night, Linda didn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan, thinking, was this the price of generosity? She'd spent years dreaming of passing down something meaningful. She had imagined Melissa carrying the torch proudly, building on her legacy, not destroying it, not pushing her out like a stranger. But now it was clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't miscommunication. Melissa didn't want her around. Not as a mentor, not as a partner, not even as a reminder. She wanted full control. And worse, she wanted Linda gone and forgotten. The next day, Linda decided to pay a quiet visit to the bakery. She told herself it wasn't to cause trouble, just to see it. One last look. Maybe grab a pastry, sit in the corner, and soak it all in before truly letting go. She wore a soft blue cardigan and jeans. Nothing too formal. She looked like any other customer. When she walked through the front door, the little bell rang. And for a moment, her body instinctively moved toward the counter, like muscle memory. But she caught herself and walked toward a window seat instead. Everything looked the same, yet completely different. The charm was gone. The warmth had dimmed. The familiar scent of baked apples and spice was replaced by something sterile. New LED lights buzzed overhead, and generic instrumental music filled the space. Melissa noticed her instantly from behind the register. Her expression changed, tight lips, cold eyes. She walked over. "Mom, what are you doing here?" she asked, her tone clipped. "I just wanted to stop by. Get a croissant. Maybe say hi." Melissa crossed her arms. "I thought we talked about this." Linda raised an eyebrow. "Talked about what?" "You showing up unannounced." "I'm trying to create my own space here, Mom. You're making that harder." Linda felt her chest tighten. "I'm not trying to make anything harder. I just missed the place." Melissa let out a small laugh. Not a happy one. The kind filled with tension. "You keep acting like this is still your shop." Linda blinked. "Well, it's not. You gave it to me. You said it yourself. So either respect that, or stop coming here like you still own it." There it was. The line. Finally spoken out loud. "You don't own this anymore." But what Melissa didn't know, what she had completely forgotten in her arrogance, was that Linda technically still did. She had never officially signed the full ownership transfer. It was all verbal. The lease? Still under Linda's name. The business license? Still listed under Linda's LLC. Melissa had never followed up with paperwork. She was too busy rebranding, remaking, and remodeling. Linda didn't say anything in that moment. She just stood up. "You're right," she said softly. "Maybe I've overstayed my welcome." She left without finishing her coffee. That evening, Linda made 2 phone calls. One to her lawyer, and one to a locksmith. The next morning, at exactly 5:45 a.m., Linda stood outside the bakery, documents in hand. She waited patiently until the delivery truck pulled up. Then she greeted the driver warmly, as she always used to, and had him place the crates inside. 10 minutes later, the locksmith arrived. It took exactly 12 minutes to change all 3 locks, front, back, and storage room. At 6:15, Linda walked inside. She flipped the open sign off, turned off the lights, and sat at her old desk in the back office. At 7:45, Melissa showed up. She tried the front door. Locked. Confused, she knocked. Then she knocked again, harder. Linda came to the door and opened it slowly. "What's going on?" Melissa asked, irritation already rising. "I need to talk to you," Linda said calmly. Melissa stepped inside. "Why are the locks changed? Where's the staff? I asked them to take the day off." Melissa laughed, but it didn't sound amused. "What are you doing, Mom?" Linda walked behind the counter and placed a manila folder on the table. "These are the business documents. Lease. Ownership. License. Tax ID. All still under my name." Melissa blinked. "What? You said I don't own the bakery anymore. That I'm interfering. So, I'm taking it back." Melissa stepped back like she'd been slapped. "You can't do that," she whispered. "I can," Linda said. "And I have. Legally, you never owned it. You just assumed you did. Are you serious right now? As serious as you were when you told me to stop showing up." Melissa stared at her. "This is revenge." "No," Linda said, her voice steady. "This is reality. You wanted full control. But you forgot who gave you the opportunity in the first place. And now I'm taking it back, not out of spite, but because you've proven you don't value what this place is or what it means." Melissa stormed out. She tried calling the staff. She tried calling her lawyer. She tried everything. But it was done. That evening, Linda posted a simple update on the bakery's Facebook page. "Linda's Loaves is back under original ownership. Thank you all for your continued love and support. We're baking fresh again, with heart." The comments flooded in with excitement. "So glad you're back. The croissants haven't tasted the same without you. Welcome home, Linda." And just like that, Linda wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't erased. She was back, not with rage, but with quiet, unshakable strength. Melissa had said the words, "You don't own me." And Linda had simply replied, not with anger, not with tears, but with action. Linda woke up the next morning at 5 a.m., just like she used to years ago, before Melissa, before the disappointment, before the heartbreak. There was a familiar ache in her back, but she welcomed it. It reminded her she was alive, that she still had something left to fight for. She pulled on her old bakery apron, the one with faded embroidery and a tiny burn mark near the front pocket. She hadn't worn it in almost 2 years. Just seeing it made her chest tighten. But this wasn't nostalgia, it was resurrection. Her reflection in the mirror showed more gray in her hair, more lines around her eyes, but the woman staring back looked determined. She tied her hair up, grabbed her keys, and left before the sun rose. Today wasn't just about reclaiming the bakery. It was about restoring her identity. When Linda arrived at the shop, the sky was still a deep purple. The street was quiet, the way it always had been during those magical pre-dawn hours. The only sound was the rustle of trees and the soft humming of the old refrigerator motor inside. She unlocked the door, stepped inside, and took a long breath. Everything was in place. The lights dimmed. The countertops spotless. The silence waiting. She walked into the kitchen and flicked on the overhead light. And there it was. Her old rolling pin, her grandmother's flour sifter, the familiar stack of recipe cards tucked behind the spice rack. Melissa had moved a lot of things, but not everything. Linda smiled to herself, opened the supply cabinet, and got to work. By 7 a.m., the bakery smelled like it used to. Warm, yeasty bread. Molasses. Apples baking in brown sugar. The kind of aroma that made passers-by slow their walk, breathe in deeply, and remember something they didn't even realize they'd forgotten. One by one, customers started appearing at the door. Faces that had once come in daily, but had slowly stopped over the past few months. Linda opened the door herself, welcoming them in like old friends. "Linda, you're back. I've missed your biscuits more than I missed my own grandma's." She laughed, hugged, cried a little. It was overwhelming, but it was also healing. By 10 a.m., the line was out the door. And Linda knew without a doubt. She hadn't just taken the bakery back. She had brought it back to life. Meanwhile, Melissa was unraveling. When she found the locks changed and the business reactivated under Linda's name, she had gone into full panic mode. Her first call was to her boyfriend, followed by her lawyer, followed by a series of angry texts to her mother, all of which went unanswered. "You can't just take it. You gave it to me. Everyone knows it. I have staff waiting to be paid. I'm going to sue you if you don't reverse this." But Linda had already anticipated this. And she was ready. What Melissa didn't realize was that Linda hadn't just been idle since their last conversation. She had prepared everything, quietly, thoroughly, legally. She had spoken to a lawyer and re-established all documentation. She had notified the landlord, reasserted her name on the lease. She had even filed a notice of ownership reinstatement with the city's Small Business Bureau. Every paper, every signature, airtight. Melissa could scream all she wanted. But legally, the bakery was never hers. At noon, Melissa stormed into the bakery. Linda was mid-conversation with a regular customer when the front door slammed open. The bell jingled violently. Heads turned. Linda didn't flinch. "Mom, we need to talk," Melissa said sharply. Linda turned, wiped her hands, and gestured toward the back office. "Let's go." They stepped inside, and Linda quietly closed the door. Melissa immediately began. "This is insane. You can't just lock me out. I've been running this place for a year and a half. I put in so much work. I rebranded everything. I made it modern. I invested my money." Linda didn't raise her voice. "You never signed the ownership papers. Because you said you'd finalize it after tax season. And then you told me I was no longer part of the business. That I needed to step back. That I didn't own it." Melissa's face turned red. "That's not what I meant. You took it personally." "I took it truthfully, Melissa. You meant it. And that's okay. But actions have consequences." Melissa scoffed, crossing her arms. "So what? You're going to run it like it's 1995 again? No social media, no digital payments? No Wi-Fi?" Linda gave a small smile. "I'm going to run it like a bakery. One that feeds the heart, not the algorithm." Melissa rolled her eyes. "You think this is fair?" she hissed. "You think this is what family does?" Linda's smile faded. Her voice cracked ever so slightly. "No. Family doesn't push people out. Family doesn't erase each other. Family doesn't make the person who built everything feel like a burden in their own home." Silence filled the room. Melissa looked away. Linda continued, gently but firmly. "I gave you something priceless. And instead of cherishing it, you tried to strip it of everything that made it special, including me." For the first time, Melissa didn't have a comeback. She stood still, arms limp at her side. Her eyes welled with something between regret and disbelief. And Linda? She didn't gloat. She didn't lecture. She just walked past her daughter, opened the office door, and said, "You're welcome to visit." As a customer, word spread fast. Within 2 days, local media picked up the story. Beloved bakery back with original owner after family drama. People were curious, supportive, excited. Linda embraced the attention not for fame, but to bring the community back together. She brought back old menu items, rehired longtime staff, and welcomed new faces with warmth Melissa had unknowingly pushed out. Customers began bringing their kids again. Stories were shared over pastries. Polaroids were pinned to the bulletin board. And just like that, the bakery felt like home again, for everyone. Melissa didn't return. At least not for a while. She disappeared from social media. Her Instagram rebranding of the bakery went quiet. Friends stopped mentioning her in town. Rumor had it she took a part-time job at a chain cafe across town, one that didn't allow any personal creativity or decision-making. And Linda? She didn't gloat. She never spoke ill of her daughter. But deep down, she hoped Melissa had learned something far more valuable than how to run a business. How to respect what you're given. And who gave it to you. 1 month later, Linda received a letter. It wasn't long, just a few lines. I messed up. You were right. I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. I'm not asking for the bakery back. I'm just asking if we can talk sometime. I miss you. Melissa. Linda stared at the note for a long time. She didn't respond right away. Not out of pride, but because wounds, even when healing, deserve space. Still, she placed the letter in the drawer of her desk. Not to forget, but to remind herself. Taking something back isn't always about revenge. Sometimes, it's about restoring what should have never been broken in the first place. The days following Melissa's letter passed slowly. Linda didn't respond right away, not because she was angry, but because she needed time. Not just to decide what to say, but to sort through what she felt. Disappointment. Sadness. Maybe even guilt. She had raised Melissa to be strong, independent, capable. But had she also raised her to be entitled? Or had Melissa simply gotten lost in the rush of proving herself? Linda didn't have those answers yet. But what she did know, deep in her bones, was this. Some pain doesn't go away overnight. Some damage, even if unintentional, takes time to heal. And sometimes the hardest thing isn't forgiving someone, it's learning to trust them again. 1 week after the letter arrived, Linda finally wrote back. It wasn't long, just a few lines, mirroring the tone Melissa had used. Thank you for your letter. I'm not ready to have a long talk yet, but I'm willing to meet for coffee. Let's start small. Maybe that's what we both need. She slipped the note into an envelope, hand-delivered it to Melissa's apartment, and left without ringing the bell. It was a start. A cautious one, but a start nonetheless. Meanwhile, the bakery was thriving. Business was booming. Customers kept pouring in, grateful that the place had gone back to its roots. Old customers returned. New ones discovered it. Reviews soared. Local influencers stopped by just to say they met the Linda behind Linda's loaves. But Linda didn't let it get to her head. She wasn't running a trend. She was holding space, for warmth, for memory, for real connection. One afternoon, a mother came in with her young son, no older than 6. He held out a drawing he made, a crayon picture of the bakery. I drew your shop, he said proudly. Because I want to be a baker too. Linda knelt down and smiled at him. Then you've already started. She hung the picture near the register that day. And for the first time in years, Linda didn't feel tired at the end of the day. She felt fulfilled. Then, on a rainy Thursday, Melissa walked in. It had been nearly a month since the takeover. Her hair was pulled back in a simple bun. No makeup. She wore jeans and a worn hoodie. Not the bold, curated Instagram version of herself, just Melissa. Raw. Quiet. Linda was restocking the display case when she looked up and saw her daughter standing near the entrance. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Linda broke the silence. You're early, she said gently. I thought we were meeting at 2. I know, Melissa said. I just didn't want to wait anymore. Linda wiped her hands and came around the counter. They sat at a small table near the window, the one Linda used to sit at when she first dreamed of passing the place on. Melissa took a deep breath. I've been working at Bean Roast. It's a cafe near the mall. They don't let us touch anything on the menu. Everything's pre-measured and corporate. It's like baking from a script. Linda nodded. That sounds hard. It is, Melissa whispered. But it's fair. I don't blame anyone but myself. Another silence passed. Then Melissa looked up. I know I was arrogant. I thought because I had a degree and some marketing ideas, I knew better. I forgot the soul of the place. I forgot you. Linda's throat tightened. I didn't just want to prove I could run it, Melissa continued. I wanted to prove I was worthy of it. But I went about it the wrong way. Linda reached across the table, resting her hand on Melissa's. I'm not angry, Mel. I was hurt. Deeply. But anger fades. Love doesn't. Melissa's eyes welled. I don't want the bakery back. I don't even deserve that. I just want a chance to rebuild something. With you. even if it's just a relationship. That conversation was the first of many. They didn't fix everything overnight. There were awkward moments, misunderstandings. But week by week, they carved out a new rhythm, not of parent and child or boss and employee, but of two women trying to rediscover each other. Eventually, Melissa started volunteering again at the bakery. Not to take over, not to lead, just to help. She worked the cash register, washed dishes, swept floors. She asked questions, listened more, and stopped making big changes without understanding the heart behind each recipe. It was humbling, but it was healing. Then came the festival. Every year, the town hosted a small harvest fair in the town square. Booths lined the streets. Musicians played. Kids painted pumpkins. Local businesses set up stalls to showcase their goods. Melissa had an idea. What if we entered the pie contest together? She asked one afternoon. But made something new, your technique, my twist. Linda raised an eyebrow. A twist? Melissa grinned. Not calorie conscious, I promise. Linda laughed. They agreed. They spent 3 days perfecting the recipe. A salted caramel apple pie with toasted pecans and a hint of orange zest. Linda handled the crust, flaky, buttery, just like her mother taught her. Melissa worked on the filling, balancing sweetness with tang, building a flavor that felt familiar but exciting. On the day of the fair, they presented it together. When the judges announced the winner, the entire town heard. Linda's loaves, Linda and Melissa Reynolds. The crowd erupted in cheers. People clapped, hugged, took photos. And Linda? She looked at her daughter and felt something she hadn't felt in a long, long time. Peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because something broken had been carefully, lovingly mended. Then came the twist. A few weeks after the festival, Linda received a letter from the bakery's landlord. Inside was a renewal agreement for another 5 years. But attached to it was something unexpected. I wanted you to know, your daughter came by last month, privately, before any of this turned around. She offered to pay off the lease for the rest of the year. She didn't want you to know. Said it was the least she could do after everything. She's growing into someone remarkable. Just thought you should know. Linda sat in her office, holding the letter, stunned. Melissa had already taken her first step, before she was forgiven. Before there was any promise of reconciliation. She had quietly, selflessly tried to give back. Not for credit, but for closure. That's when Linda realized. This wasn't just about a bakery. It wasn't just about ownership. It was about legacy. Not the kind written in contracts or logos, but the kind passed down through example. Through humility. Through learning when to lead and when to let go. In the end, the bitter recipe wasn't the pie. It was the experience. It was the hard, raw truth that even the people we love the most can hurt us the deepest. That trusting again after betrayal is scary. That rebuilding a relationship requires both people to meet halfway. But when they do, when pride melts into honesty, when ego gives way to understanding, something better than a bakery can be born. A bond, a second chance, and a new beginning.